Okay, doesn't seem to be anyone home. So let's hurry up and get this over with before they return. All right, what I'm going to teach you about today are adjacent angles. Adjacent simply means next to or beside. In this case, we're going to talk about adjacent angles, and these angles are beside each other, and they'll share two things. They'll share a common vertex or point, and they will also share a common line, ray, or side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this window pane on someone's house to demonstrate how easy adjacent angles are to recognize. Now this, since it looks kind of like a coordinate plane and it has 4 quadrants, I'm going to go ahead and number it in that fashion like you would number a coordinate plane. Quad 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have our 4 quadrants. Now, which of these angles? I have angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. The quadrants are the angles. So let's identify which ones are adjacent or beside each other. Well, angle 1 and 2 are beside each other. They're next to each other, so they are adjacent angles. Angle 1 and 2 are adjacent. They share two things. They share a common vertex and a common ray. They share this point, the vertex where the lines meet, and they also share this line here, or this ray. And if this was a coordinate plane, this would be the y-axis, and that would be continuing up that way. So they share, angles 1 and 2 are adjacent because they share this line and a common vertex. What other angles here are adjacent to one another? Well, angle 2 and 3 are adjacent. They both share this line and they share the same vertex. Angles 3 and 4 are adjacent because they are beside each other. They share this line and this vertex. And 1 and 4 are also adjacent to one another because they share this line and this vertex. And when I say line, again, if this was the x-axis, that would be the x-axis, and these two would share this ray or this line. We usually denote a measure of an angle by this symbol, a curved line. So that would indicate to us that was an angle there. So angle 1 here, angle 2 here. And the same number of lines would indicate that it's also the same measure. In this case, they're all 4 the same measure. And IMO, all 4 of these angles are very hot. They're each 90 degrees. So if we got 90, 90, 90, and 90, that's going to be 360 degrees all the way around. So again, to recap, adjacent angles are angles that share a common line or ray, and they also share a common vertex. And they are next to or beside each other. So angles 1 and 2 are adjacent, angles 2 and 3 are adjacent, angles 3 and 4 are adjacent, and angles 1 and 4 are adjacent angles. Now, let's get this webcam and get out of here. This picture here is a picture of a section of the ceiling in Lowe's. I have marked some of the angles that the metal forms on the roof structure. Can you find all the pairs of adjacent angles? There are 5 different pairs of adjacent angles. Angles A and B are adjacent. Angles B and C are adjacent. Angles C and D are adjacent. Angles D and E are adjacent. And angle E and angle A are adjacent angles. This is part of a kitchen cabinet. How many pairs of adjacent angles can you identify?